even though they're alone, they don't have to stay this way. There's hope. There is healing in community. Because one of the narratives that's out there in this world is, this is really interesting. And I don't know if any of your kids have heard this. It's really kind of prevalent in the 20s. But it's become the best version of you. Disappear for 6 months, say no to everything, set really hard boundaries, become the best version of you. Go to the gym, eat right, hone a skill, do all these things, focus in, because then the best version of you is going to be worthy of love. The best version of you is going to be ready to date. The best version of you is going to be ready to go launch a business and make millions of dollars. But then what happens is the best version of you starts to friction and rub shoulders with other people in the world. And that best version of you that was created in isolation with all of your time and all of your energy and all of your capacity and all of your thoughts and emotions doesn't know how to interact and collaborate and sacrifice and bend and compromise and work with other people, because you created something that was unsustainable in community.
Hey guys, I'm here this week with my great friend Niki McIntosh from The Art of Socializing. She's going to share her journey of stepping out of isolation into connection and the reason and purpose for doing that to have a successful life, a successful business, and live a successful calling. Check it out. Are you a faith-based father and looking for intentional ways to connect with your son in a big way? If so, you have to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime on the Camino de Santiago in Spain. June 2025, I am taking a group of faith-based fathers and their sons over to Spain for 9 days and the adventure of a lifetime. Go check it out at mattschaup.com/Spain. On that page, you'll actually see all of my upcoming Spain adventures, but make sure to check out the Father-Son Hike of a Lifetime. Niki McIntosh.
Matt Schaup.
Good to have you here.
Hey, great to be here. I'm excited.
You're super caffeinated.
I'm super caffeinated.
I'm concerned for your safety.
I am, when the caffeine kicks in, I also have this incredible just water sitting next to me. So we're living the dream.
I'm excited.
I'm excited.
We've been talking about doing this for a while.
We have. Well, you and I have been running in and out of circles, I think. And we met, was it 3 years ago now? It was when did you, because it was right before the launch of Painted Baby.
Yeah, so 22 into 23.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
We met through Timberline Church, and you came to speak to our 20s and 30s young adults group.
That's a fun group.
And you were kicking off your speaking, you were kicking off the book, and it was awesome just to have you come in and talk to, I think, a population that we'll talk a little bit about here because it's who I target in my company, but just how do you live a vulnerable story and how do you tell it bravely and authentically? And I just know we really loved having you.
They were fun. That was a really cool group. And I had spoken in the business space for a long time, but that was one of the first times I really started speaking more in like the faith space and the church space and sharing that part of my story. So, I mean, those were very transitional years for me in writing that book and just sharing just more of that part of my life. So it was cool. It was fun.
Have you found this to be true? It's been crazy. As you build a business, I think you go in kind of thinking you know who you're going to speak to, but then you find a space that just feels like home. So for me, it was the same thing. I started in the business community and then shifted my business to really the faith-based women's community. And I'm like, this is my bread and butter. Like, this is my worldview. This is my language. These are my people. Does the message translate? 100%. But there's just like a place at home in your heart when you're with your people. Yeah. And it makes your story so much easier to tell.
When I started speaking, I was surprised people just wanted to hear me speak, that you could get paid to speak, that you could build a business around it. Yeah. And then, I started very broad. It was just general business.
Right. How do you take
how to grow business,
communicate?
But I've got a heart for faith-based business men and business leaders, and not just talking about the business, but just how it all integrates. Like, it's a journey. It's all the same stuff. Family, faith, leadership, business. It's just people and people journeying together. Yeah. And if you can't be vulnerable and share a good story, and if you don't realize that part of yourself and you don't know how to communicate it, you're not going to connect with people as much as you could. Yeah. It'll be superficial. It'll be short-lived.
Yep. And the world's missing out on who you are. And what I tell people is if you knew who God created you to be, you'd never want to be anyone else. But to get in touch with that person, to discover that person, to release that person into the world, you have to learn your own story. Yeah. And with that, you have to also learn how to share your story. And if you just share the best pieces, it's like, well, there's no vulnerability in that. Matt's good. Matt's got it all together. I can't relate to Matt because I'm not good and I don't have it all together and I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm faking it till I make it. But then when you start to share your story and you say, hey, actually, most days I don't have it together, but I am learning how to get smaller pieces of it together. Can I help you? Can I share with you? And there's pieces of your story that you figured out that I'm going to learn from because I haven't figured out. And so it's really cool when you see the community in business and faith and life come together and say, hey, how can we live and serve and grow together instead of I'm going to get it figured out, you figure it out, and then we'll be successful together, but we'll never talk about it.
It's wild because you said I love that statement. If you knew who God designed you to be, you'd never want to be anything else. Sounds nice on paper. However, we live in a world where the world's telling you what you should be, or everybody's on social media, and there's all these fakers that are pushing and peddling a lot of stuff. So it is one of those things, right? When I was at a speaking event the other day sharing Painted Baby, and when you as a speaker, you have to establish authority. You know what you're talking about to be on that stage. But if you stand there and all it is the good stuff, the shiny marketing brochure, the accolades, all of that, you actually do a disservice to because those people are sitting there and you create, the more you do that, the bigger gap you create between the reality of where you really are, which is right where these people are, and they have doubts and they have fears. And when you can jump off that platform, per se, when you're on the platform and just share like you're a real human, that's when you connect. And then when you can do it with your people, right? Faith-based business women, go all in with that. And that's what we're doing here.
This is so real. Yeah. There's a narrative out there in the successful business community that is, hey, create boundaries, create time and space. Don't work from 8 o'clock in the morning until midnight. You need to have self-care. You need to have boundaries. And I'm listening to all these people that have made it right. The 12-week year. But they've created
12-hour work week.
12-hour
what is
work
that?
week. Yeah, I think
the Tim Ferriss book.
I think that's it.
Tim Ferriss book's the 4-hour work week.
4-hour work week. Anyways,
there's a 12-hour something.
What as a young person sometimes what's hard for me is I'm reading all these books by these incredible successful individuals. I'm listening to their podcasts. I'm on their social media and they're talking about just kind of, hey, don't overwork yourself. Like life is important. Like social life is important. But then I think they're also forgetting about the season where they just worked. Like you built a business. I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts that you do is when Emily comes on, your wife.
Yeah.
Because you guys are just real. You're like, what did it look like for us to try to be married, raise a family, start a business, start another business, be broke, pay off debt? Like there's this reality when you start things that is real and raw and it's a struggle. And if I'm just trying to get to where these really incredible, successful people have made it 40 years into their career and I'm only 3, you have to have so much grace with yourself as a leader and as a young person and as an entrepreneur that, hey, you might be hustling for a couple years. In fact, if you're not hustling,
none of these guys got to where they are.
You're
or
probably
gals,
not going to make it.
Didn't do that.
Yeah.
And they forget that's where little out of touch, right? You've been doing this 30, 40 years and that's a cool message, but go back to the
that you've got
$100
the
in the bank.
time and the resources and the space to be able to do all these, to create these boundaries. So it's been kind of cool. Like as God and I just built this and my friends and I have helped, it's been, okay, how can I, it's Mark Batterson's, how can you work like it depends on you and pray like it depends on God?
Yep.
And I was at a panel the other day and there was actually a guy that asked a question. He said, how do you find this balance between building something and working really hard and trusting that God is going to produce fruit from it? Because we were kind of talking about those same things. Like, do you have a good Sabbath? Do you have good rhythms and routines, which I think are important? And so the couple people that were on the panel, older, wiser, made it in business. Like, hey, here's the Bible verse that's got me through. Here's this. And I looked at the guy and I was like, bro, you and me, we're white knuckling it. We're hustling. We're young. We're trying to figure all this stuff out. So how do we create healthy boundaries and rhythms within the hustle? So what I've done with my friends is I say, all right, friends, besties, keep me accountable. Am I working out twice a week? Am I eating 2 meals a day? And am I sleeping 8 hours a night? And if I'm doing those things, I'm staying healthy enough where I can keep hustling because that's what it takes to build something, to build a dream. And I'm not sleeping, not eating, not taking care of my body. And if you're checking in on me, then we're still connected. And so it's just been cool to kind of find those as a young entrepreneur. Hey, what does it look like to hustle? What does it look like to trust? And what does it look like to believe in yourself so relentlessly that you don't need anybody else to cheer you on at the end of the day? And that's been real.
But you talk about those three things, right? To trust, to hustle, and find your people, right? And push all the other noise and the people and the things or whatever that is just out of there that aren't going to get you there. Do you feel like you were misled leading into entrepreneurship by listening to some of this? Or that you didn't have the right.
Oh man, 100%.
Some people you don't realize till that first day, and you're not getting paid anymore by your secure job, and you're like, "Oh wait, I need to make this happen." You got to go. You got to make it. Business is very simple, but we overcomplicate it. You got to go tell people what you sell it, deliver it, get paid.
Yeah, it's a wild world.
Like that.
I have started telling my friends. So two things. One, I tell my friends who are like, "Hey, I'm thinking of starting like my own business." Right? We're a whole generation where we're like, we want flexibility. We want the freedom to work when we want, where we want. We see it everywhere. I'm thinking of starting my own business. Will you tell me about your experience? And what I tell them is I'm like, hey, look into franchises because I built mine from scratch and it was a ton of work. Two, you need to know that starting your own business, running your own business is going to be as much work, twice as much. It might even be 4 times more work than working for someone else as you build it. So you're talking
and
maybe
might get paid
5 years,
$0,
maybe 10
right?
years. You might not get paid any money for the next, 2 years. So there's just a really hard reality where you've got to have grits and gut and you have to live relentlessly and fearlessly into what you believe your dream to be. And you have to know how to pivot. Did you ever watch Friends?
A little bit, not tons.
There's this one episode, I can't remember what episode it is, but Ross is one of the characters in Friends, and they're trying to move a couch up this like narrow stairway, and Ross just starts yelling, pivot, because they're trying to turn the couch. There's like someone under the couch, someone over the couch. And so for me, sometimes there's just this reality of you also have to be ready to pivot. Like that first business idea might not work out. That first marketing plan probably isn't going to work out. And so do you have the flexibility and adaptability to pivot? And are you willing to sacrifice a lot the first couple of years to pursue the dream, to live shamelessly and boldly and fearlessly and do things that embarrass you because you have no idea what you're doing. You've never been here before. If that doesn't sound exciting to you, you should probably just stick with your really solid 9-to-5, work on growing, work on flexibility. I also did it upside down, backwards, and sideways when you built a business. This is funny. Me and a friend were at a restaurant the other day, and we were talking about all the things we did in business that we wish we hadn't done, but someone told us to do it. And so we were like, yeah, I should do that, between like buying certain insurances or LLCs or opening up 20 different bank accounts or like all of these things that people told us we needed to do and buy into in order to be successful and protected in business. Him and I were laughing. We're like, we did all those things. And none of them were revenue producing. None of them were marketing. None of them were even needed until I was maybe 5 or 10 years into this business. I'm 5 days into this business. So it's been funny, the things that you're told going into starting your own business. And I started mine completely from scratch. What success looks like, but they don't, and they tell you like, hey, it's going to be work, but they don't tell you how much money it's going to cost. They don't tell you how much work and time, how many new things you're going to have to learn. Like I know a lot, but I don't know anything. Yeah. You know, like that's the weird tension of being a business owner. I know just enough and I know absolutely nothing.
And they can tell you all they want, right? That's another thing. They can tell you all they want. Yeah. But until you jump in you're doing it, you got no idea. Yeah. You got no idea. Yep. Yeah. And that's just what I tell people. Yeah. Like, you got to just try it at some point. Yeah. I'm going to tell my boss to screw off and leave my job. I'm like, just go try it for like 3 hours one night. Just go make some calls or what do you do? Keep it simple. Yep. What do you do? Who do you serve? Yep. What does it cost? How could I get that right now? Yep. Are you set up to where I could pay you for that right now? Yeah. And, no, but I got these 20 accounts and these LLCs. Can you right now, like if you and your boyfriend want to come to couples night right now, you can go. You can sign up like just right there. Keep all the complexity out of it. Mm-hmm.
That is interesting. That was the other thing. And looking back, it's like, God, I will not live with regrets. Next time I go to start a business, will I do a little bit differently? Yeah, I left. This is just part of my personality. I'm all in, for better or for worse. I also was, and still, I'm not married, but I'm dating, but I was single, no kids. had a savings account. So you get to a moment in life where you're like, and this is a part of my story I'll share with you on how I started the business, but God, I have nothing to lose and I have nothing to prove. I can take a really big risk right now. And so normally they tell you when you're launching a business, you keep your full-time paid, you have a paycheck coming in every month that covers the bills, covers all of those things. And then on the side, like you said, right, you spend a couple hours every night building out that idea, seeing if it works, market testing it, getting a couple clients, running some test subjects, all of those things. So I skipped that whole process and I said,
You said, nope, just
the
go.
world needs this. This is going to work. Here we go. Did it take me 6 months to figure out who I built this business for? Yep, sure did. When I figured it out, is that when money started coming in? Yeah. Was I floundering for a solid year? Absolutely. So there's just things, but you're like, that's all a part of the journey that makes you older and wiser.
Yeah.
And there's a reason that you should probably have a network of really strong, successful business people around you speaking into every step. Because I thought I just knew best. Someone gave me an idea and I said, I can do that. But I didn't keep people a part of the conversation every step of the way. I said, all right, I'm going to go figure this out. I'm going to build this. I'm going to do it. And then I'm going to launch it.
Yep.
And you and you just learn. I'm learning. I wish I'd had people there. I wish I'd invited people to speak into it more, but I think I was afraid they say it was a bad idea. I shouldn't do it. I should stay with a job that, I didn't necessarily want to stay in while I built this. But looking back, I think it would have been, there was a little bit of wisdom, in what people have done over the years.
Well, you're fast moving and so am I.
Yeah.
You get excited about something and you just go.
And you go.
Yeah. So talk about that. So talk about that full-time employment and then just leaving that.
Yeah.
How did that all play out?
Yeah. So it was wild.
That was when we met, right? Were you full-time employed at the church or what were you employed?
Listen, it's been a wild journey to get to the point of entrepreneurship, but I think sometimes you get a taste for something and you don't want to go back to it. So my background is nonprofit fundraising and community relations. So I did that out in South Carolina for about 10 years. And again, a part of my story. And then I moved here. And I had a lot of freedom there's freedom and flexibility in fundraising and community relations because you're going to breakfast, you're going to dinners, you're going to lunches. I'm not showing up at a desk working from 9 to 5. So when I left that career and I said, all right, I want to try ministry. I want to try paid ministry, which is where we met. I was in young adults, so I was leading college ministry and then young adults ministry. And was part-time, and then I was working for another local nonprofit. And so I kind of bounced around between ministry and a couple other nonprofits because, again, I wanted the freedom. I wanted the flexibility. I didn't want to commit to another company for 10 years because I wanted to figure out just a better way to live, to do something that I knew that I would love to do, not love every minute, but be passionate enough to want to get up every morning and do for the rest of my life. That was a journey, but needed a paycheck in the process of finding that journey. And so I kind of called it my almost hobby job season, where went from a career to, I went straight from college into a career, and I didn't do a lot of those kind of like float jobs of, so I was a barista for a season, and then I worked in ministry, and then I worked, for a nonprofit. I worked for Serve 68. I did their toy room for a season.
That's right. Yep.
Super fun. Blast. But I was like, okay, flexible hours, super fun. And then I worked for another, it's a ministry nonprofit, Finally Home. They work with the foster and adoption and kinship families. Absolutely incredible ministry. Incredible team. Mark and Kristen Orphan. Love them.
What's up, orphans?
Yeah. Oh, So then I worked for them part-time. And then when I was working for them was when I launched my essentially contracting business. So I said, my background is in development fundraising. There's a lot of nonprofits that need help in this area. How can I help them build out their development programs essentially? So donor care, events, different things like that. So I worked with Finally Home for about a year. And that was when I think the dream and the pressure started to churn for me. And it was like, this is good and this is helping people, but I'm still helping build someone else's dream. And as an entrepreneur, because we're not all wired to be entrepreneurs, this has been an interesting lesson that I've learned about people over the years. We have different capacities. Yep. So I have friends, their capacity is they can do one social thing a week and they can do maybe 2 things a day outside of work and this. And then I look at my capacity and I'm like, all right, I can do 5 social things a week. I can do 10 things after I get home from work. And I used to judge people for that. Like, hey, do better, work harder. I can do it. Why can't you? And there was this moment.
Made that way.
Yeah, there was this moment where God's like, Niki, I have designed everybody differently. And it is your privilege and opportunity to love your friends in their capacity. And it is your responsibility to live into yours.
Yep.
And so that was just a cool moment where it was like, okay, God, you've wired me differently. And so entrepreneurs, as you meet them, we click because we're wired differently. We say there's a spark, there's something you can do and something you have that not everybody does. And that's okay. And so for me, that spark really started to slow burn. And it was like working for nonprofits is cool and I love it. But man, there's something else you've designed me to do. And I have no idea what it is.
Did you see glimpses of it growing up? So me, like I was a little troublemaker kid. They're like, he has ADD, give him drugs. I'm like, no, I like to talk and sell stuff and come up with crazy ideas and tell stories. And then you put a product and money in front of it. And I was like 9 years old. That was my space. And I knew it.
Yeah.
Immediately knew it.
Yeah.
So was it like that for you? Or like when you realized it then and had that slow burn spark, did you then go back to your store and you're like, I see moments of it there?
Yeah. For me, that was huge. When I left fundraising to figure out what was next, I gave myself permission to do a lot of soul searching. And soul searching and story searching are intertwined. It's connected. And so part of what I did was I just spent time laying out my story. All right, God, where did I start? Where did I come from? What are the moments and people and experiences that have shaped me? What are the moments and people and experiences where I have felt the most alive? And how do I grab onto those and how do I keep exploring those and seeing what's there? So for me, a part of that mapping out my story, which is what I do with my clients in my business, because that's interestingly enough, in the art of socializing, learning how to socialize, a huge part of it starts with knowing your story.
Do you need a new roof or new paint job on your home or business and live in Northern Colorado? If so, check out one of our sponsors, M&E Painting and Roofing. We've been around for 20 years here in the community, and full disclosure, I am the M in M&E. Check them out at mndepainting.com. Are you a business owner who is struggling to understand and navigate the world of digital media? If so, check out one of our sponsors, Imprint Digital. They are the go-to source for everything digital related to your business. Not only are they a sponsor, but they also take care of all of our company's website. They produce this podcast, and I highly recommend them. Check them out at imprint-digital.com.
And so in that process and journey, the things that jumped out to me were just little things that I'd said like way back when, like, I never want to live a quiet life. One day I want to speak at the Passion Conference. I love people. Like, I don't have hobbies. I'm one of those weird people. I don't have hobbies. Okay, I did take up karaoke though about 2 years ago.
Did you really?
I love it. It's just this like, people are always like, oh my gosh, I can't sing. And I'm like, listen, karaoke is not about being able to sing. It's about finding a place where you can express this creative side of you where there's no expectations. You're not trying to prove anything. You're not trying to accomplish anything. You're just there to have fun. And so karaoke for me has been one of those. So if it's a hobby, yeah. I mean, I bought a little microphone set, a little speaker set, but I've never had hobbies growing up. And that was always weird for me because I was like, what's wrong with me? Other people have hobbies. They have things they do for fun. I just always wanted to be around people. Like, people were my hobby. And I said this over and over, sometimes to my detriment, because you give too much and you don't always learn how to take a step back and, just give yourself a minute to check in and have some downtime. But people were my hobby. And so I kind of stepped back and I said, okay, God, I've spent a lifetime around people, loving them, despite sometimes them being, good for me. I've been surrounded by people. I've been loved by people. Ministry has always lit me up. Working in faith-based communities has always lit me up. And so you look at the things that you're passionate about, and then you look at the experiences that God's put in your life. What jobs have I had? What opportunities have I had? What skills have I learned? Some I've chosen to learn. Some I've had to learn because the job required it. And so this is something fun to do. And I mean, anybody can do this. Young people can do this. It helps give people clarity, but I call it Sherlocking, like Sherlock and Holmes. And I did this when I was career counseling in college. I worked for a college university, and and I helped with career counseling for the School of Business. And because I've got my MBA, and so it was fun to stay involved. But one of the things that I told the business students to do it was in their networking course specifically, is I said, I want you to try this thing I call Sherlocking. I want you to write out, if you could do anything in the world, what would it be? Money, time, skill set, none of that's an obligation. What would you do? And I want you to write it out. And then the next thing I want you to do is I want you to write out your experiences. What are things you've actually done? What are skills you have? Tangible skills that you can apply now, jobs you've worked, all those things. And then I want you to write a list of your values. What are things that you won't compromise on? What are things that you believe to be true about people, about business, about the value that you want to add and bring to a company, your attitude, your work ethic, like write out your values. And then I want you to write a list of people that you know that do the thing that you want to do most. And it can be a second connection. Find somebody in your network that knows somebody that does what you want to do. So what happened in that process for me too, was it's just laying out, all right, well, God, what brings me life and joy? Yeah. What skills do I have? Who do I know that does them? And how can I get to know them better so that I can become more like them and eventually, hopefully one day, start doing what it is I want to do. So all of that kind of became a part of the journey of creating what is now the art of socializing.
So your journey to figure it out is now what your business is built around to a certain degree, right?
Yeah. In leadership, I don't know if you found this to be true, and it's both and. In leadership, I think it can be dangerous to lead people to where you've never been. And I think it's important to be willing to go with them to places you've never been.
Yeah.
What I've gotten tripped up over the years are leaders who are almost telling me to go places they've never been, or they're coaching me to go places they've never been because they don't know the full experience of where it is I'm going. So for me, being somebody that coaches people on where I've been is important for me because it's like, hey, everything you're experiencing right now, lostness, stuckness, depression, confusion, frustration, fear, anxiety, depression, I've been there. I've sat in that space. And I've learned a lot of skills and strategy, psychologically, literally, professionally, on how to pull myself out of them.
Yeah.
And so that's what we do as leaders. Like, how do we pour into people? Mm-hmm. And cool, God, if I can find a way to make money off of this, to make a living for myself so I can keep doing this, that's a win. That's the end game. Let's do that.
No, and it's huge to have been there and have gone there to share that with others. But then if you're going somewhere that you don't know, you've never been there, it's like, hey, I don't know. You don't know either. Let's go together.
Yeah.
And I think that's a cool part of a leader, being able to step into, I mean, we're doing a lot of stepping into unknown stuff right now.
Yeah, you guys are building.
But it's crazy. We've got a lot of time, energy, money, everything. We're, shutting things down, selling other things.
Yeah.
I mean, just we're going all in with this.
Yeah.
And some of it's unknown, but it's fun. But just listening to God through the process and little pivots. I mean, Joey, you've been here. We started the podcast a year and a half ago. I mean, look how much even the podcast has changed, and I rip it up with Joey like every week after the show. Well, here's what we're doing. And it's morphed, How does it look to you, Joey, from the outside of being here since you came in here day one, right? We had our $20 salad at Modern Market.
You and that $20 salad, man.
Probably still chapped about that, man.
Why am I paying $1 for a leaf?
I wasn't even full.
Yeah, I don't
know.
know.
Now you're eating our Jimmy Dean sausage sandwiches over there. Probably have one right now.
Hold on. I'm on a diet. I've lost 12 pounds.
Get
you look great, Joey. You look great over there.
By the way, my abs are coming in. I'm shredded.
See, this is the problem with men, okay? You guys think about losing weight. You think about getting...
It just happens.
You skip magical. A couple sandwiches and you got a six-pack.
It's magical.
It's rude. Mm-hmm. It's just rude.
Things have changed and evolved and morphed and grown over time. I think at first maybe it was just like, we're using this to promote all businesses, and then it kind of morphed into like, all right, now we're working on the personal brand, and then it morphed into like, okay, personal brand. We're actually we're gonna look at this from like a bigger, just in a bigger way, and how can you affect more people? And I think that's kind of what it's turned into.
I hear the comment a lot of it's an either or. Well, you're either gonna build somebody else's dream, or you have to go build yours. I'm like, that's totally wrong. If I, as the leader, can create an environment where like I'm building a dream. Emily and I, we have a dream. We have a calling. Yeah. We're building that. People are coming in and they're helping build that.
Yeah.
But when they get, I want to say, fed that line where they think it's either or, they're either building our dream or they've got to go build their own. And it's like, it's dangerous. It's like, no, because so the Matt Schaub brand, I think the biggest thing I can see looking back is when that transitioned into the pour into people company, is that everybody here gets to come build their dream within the dream that we have and all do that together.
Yep.
So like, I love going to Spain. That's my thing. No one's going to throw a better Spain immersion adventure, whether it's father, son, father, daughter, just whoever, business leaders, than me. Nobody's going to do that.
Yep.
But Kevin, like he does fly fishing and backcountry stuff. I'm probably not even going to go on that one. That's not my jam.
Yeah.
But when I presented that to Kevin, he's like, "Whoa, we could do that." I'm like, "Yeah, we can do that." So we're looking at what are the dreams and passions that everybody has here, and then how can we build, adventure, travel, leadership, growth around this with teams and families, and it's unlimited possibilities. It's been really cool to see, and we have no idea what it looks like or where it's going to go.
Yep.
But we're just like, let's try it. Give it a try.
It's one of those too. It's because like you as the leader, as a Match Shop brand, right? You have a vision, but you also hold that vision fluidly because that vision is going to change as you incorporate, right? Different gifts from your team that come in and can do things that you can't do or can see things that you can't see. And entrepreneurship as a journey has been fascinating, and even just life in general, right? Because are there things that only Matt can do? Yes. Are there things that only Niki can do? Yes. And next level leadership, next level business is do those things while you're inviting other people into that journey with you, and you're inviting other people into the success. And as leaders, I think the narrative for so long was you figure this out, you do this, you are successful or you fail. Yeah. And what we're starting, and you see this in music, not all the time. I'm seeing it a lot more now, collaborations, right? Artists are doing collabs. Yeah. They're getting together and they're saying, hey, we can actually make something better together. And even if it's not better, it's fun for them, which is so important in life, especially in business. Yeah. Are you having fun?
And then you see two people you would never think would collab on something together, and then they do.
Yeah. And then you see a Beyonce win some country album, artist, and you're like, well, hello world. Like it's just we try to put so many things in a box, business building, leadership, and it's not black and white. It's actually a really creative process. And if you are a leader who thinks more black and white, it's really important for you to have creative people on your team because they'll help you understand the world and the market and your audience so much better. And it's just, again, it's more fun. And I don't think we have enough fun. I mean, I'm having fun in business. Yeah. Now, because you just have to step back and say, God, I'm going to work like it depends on me, and I'm going to pray like it depends on you, and I'm going to bring as many people along for this messy ride as I can. And what works, awesome. What doesn't, let's adjust. Yep. And every day is something new.
Well, it's been just so cool from the day I met you, and then, journeying with you when we were working up at Timberline and doing things together, and you're just like, I'm working here and there, and I don't know, and I want to do this. And then all of a sudden it's just like a different world. And we don't see our own progress sometimes, right? Because it's 3 years?
Yeah.
3 years, give or take a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's like you're in a totally different place.
Totally different.
And we miss that sometimes because it's just every day just seems like the grind. You feel like you're making no progress or you're actually pulling, well, I had to pivot, so this didn't work out. And then you start counting how much that cost in time, energy, money, and then listening to all the people all the people that said they supported you and they were waiting for you to fail. And they're like, see, I told you. And then you start listening to that. It's like, nope, just keep going.
Yep.
And the more you find yourself and find your calling and become successful and bring those people along, start uplifting those other people. I've said this when Danelle was here speaking a couple of weeks ago. There will always be those people that support you.
Yes.
They will be there forever. There will always be those people that have never supported you, and they will be there forever. So know who these people are. Know who these people are.
Yeah.
These people don't matter at all. Then there's the people in the middle that say they do, or they do at the beginning until you get to a place where they haven't gone or you attain a dream that they couldn't. And then they start to shift, and you have to really, know who these people are and you know who these people are, but you've got to watch and be observant of those people.
Yeah. And not let them disappoint you. Because I think the middle people can be quick, like, okay, you say yes and you say you're in and you're super excited for me, but then you don't show up, or you don't buy in, or you don't help me. I think that's one of the things as an entrepreneur I never understood about business owners was how much help we need to grow our business, and how much super small, simple things like showing up or recommending somebody or sending somebody our way. Like those are such big things when you're a business owner.
And we don't know, so we don't ask.
Yeah.
And just those asking for those simple things.
Yeah.
Support, referrals, and direct business. Mm-hmm. And then don't ask your friends for a discount. You should do business with your friends because they're your friends. You should pay them. You should pay them more.
Shift. Yeah.
Do you get friends asking you for discounts, Joey?
Joey, you can give me a discount. We're friends.
Do I do discounts?
No, do your friends? Do you have friends that ask you for discounts?
I've had so many potential clients be like, well, actually, when I used to own the sandwich shop, people would come and be like, yo, can you hook me up? I'm like, bro, I don't go because like
Support your friends.
one of my best friends was a barber, and he never came in and asked for a discount, and I never asked for a discount when he cut my hair. I gave him like big tips, and he did the same thing when he came in. So it's like
There's like a level
It's
of
lame.
understanding and respect.
yeah, it's lame.
Yeah.
Don't do that to your friends. You're lame.
Don't be lame to your friends, guys.
Support your friends. Yeah. So it's a I don't remember what we were talking about, but yeah, that middle.
We're squirrels. We're caffeinated squirrels.
We're caffeinated. Hey, I'm
This
doing
is
good though.
crazy.
I'm slow sipping this here 6th shot.
So just so
of
you guys
espresso.
know, so like I'll drink like 10 of these before lunchtime and be totally fine.
Okay,
But
thank
you
you.
don't drink coffee. Are you doing okay?
I'm doing
Like,
great.
You're good.
This
No.
is so good.
Okay. It's awesome.
It's your fault that this is so good.
We've got a fun surprise today after the podcast.
I'm here for surprises.
Yeah.
Especially
This Spanish coffee's been
caffeinated.
something. I fell in love with this brand of coffee like a decade ago over in Seville, in Sevilla, Spain. It's actually made by a Sevillan family. They don't make coffee beans in Spain, but we just start bringing it back. The beans are actually from Kenya. So we were just I'd bring a couple bags back and then a suitcase back, and then we'd start giving it out as gifts. So the whole coffee bar
And then the
down
airport
there.
starts realizing that you've a problem and
Well, we were
then
shipping
it's
it over.
counseling and-
We were shipping it over, and that's
Oh,
how
what?
you smuggle drugs. You smuggle drugs and coffee. So I'd order 50 pounds of coffee, and
Mm.
my buddy Angel, right, he'd ship it over, and it would get here, and they just open it up and they stab through like 20% of it. So we're like, this is not
Yeah, it's
cost
not
effective.
feasible, yeah.
So we source those beans come from a Kenyan family's
Oh, that's really
farm,
cool.
just directly over here. And so it's all fair, direct trade. Gets roasted locally right here in Loveland and put right into the bag, right into the machine.
That's awesome. I love
so it's
origin
fun.
stories.
Super cool.
Look, even our coffee today has an origin story.
It does.
You know,
It does.
has a family behind it.
So what's been like your biggest pleasant surprise in business?
Let's see. My biggest pleasant surprise in business has been, I think, creating. It's twofold. One, it's helping people because that's my bread and butter. And I working in ministry and even working in and out of the business world and fundraising and nonprofit. So my business is the art of socializing, and it's online. It's an online membership for faith-based women to teach them the mindset, the skill set, and give them accountability to learn how to create meaningful connections wherever they go. Because I looked around and I said, we've forgotten how to make friends. And because of it, there's this epidemic of social isolation and loneliness it's literally killing people. The science says loneliness is a stressor on the body. I think it's equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day is what isolation and loneliness.
Just being socially isolated.
Just being
in general.
socially in what they call measurable amounts. So in an amount where it's like you and I, Friday night, we text a bunch of people, nobody can do anything. All right, we're home alone. I feel lonely, like kind of bummed, but I know that that's not the state that I live in all the time.
Yeah.
Measurable amounts being I don't actually have meaningful connections in my life. I don't have a place I feel like I belong, people that I feel like know me, and joy because of those connections. And so for me, that being a burden on my heart to step back and say, God, you created us for connection, like first with you, but then with each other. And we can have this connection, but it's not going to give us life and life to the full this side of heaven. So for me, it's been just finding this story that's in scripture, that's in our lives, that's in our relationships, that is the potential for connection. Because Jesus in John 10:10, he says, hey, I've come to give you life and life to the full. And I think a lot of us get that like life, like, cool, I'm saved, I'm going to heaven. That's life. But then we're depressed, we're lonely, we're
But
isolated.
they're waiting until they get to heaven.
Right.
They're like, I'll just be miserable
the
here.
treasures are coming in heaven. This
Yeah.
is coming in heaven.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. And there's a full life that Jesus died so that you could live here. And it's one that is fearless and it's brave and it's authentic and it's transparent. It doesn't mean you have to go start a company. It doesn't mean you have to do all these crazy risky things that you and I have done, but it does mean that there should be a knowing in your soul of who you are because you know whose you are. And so one of the absolute joys of my business, if it's whether it's one-on-one coaching clients or it's working with a keynote, just speaking to an audience, it's always, God, somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to know that even though they're alone, they don't have to stay this way. There's hope. There is healing in community. Because one of the narratives that's out there in this world is, this is really interesting. And I don't know if any of your kids have heard this. It's really kind of prevalent in the 20s. But it's become the best version of you. Disappear for 6 months, say no to everything, set really hard boundaries, become the best version of you. Go to the gym, eat right, hone a skill, do all these things, focus in, because then the best version of you is going to be worthy of love. The best version of you is going to be ready to date. The best version of you is going to be ready to go launch a business and make millions of dollars. But then what happens is the best version of you starts to friction and rub shoulders with other people in the world. And that best version of you that was created in isolation with all of your time and all of your energy and all of your capacity and all of your thoughts and emotions doesn't know how to interact and collaborate and sacrifice and bend and compromise and work with other people, because you created something that was unsustainable in community. And Brené Brown, I don't know if you know her, but she's done a ton of research and has written a ton of books on shame and fear and vulnerability. And one of the things she says, I know this for sure, 200,000 pieces of data. In the absence of love and belonging, there's always suffering. So what happens is the narrative out there is become the best version of you, but the best version of you is actually created in community.
If you're a Christian business owner in Northern Colorado, check out one of our sponsors, the Foundry Advisory. The Foundry is a Christian peer-to-peer advisory network where you can plug in as a business owner, not only to talk about how to improve your business, but how to integrate your faith. Check them out at thefoundryadvisory.com. And remember, they're not only a sponsor, but I'm also a member of their group. If you have a story to share and you're thinking of becoming an author to do so, you have to connect with one of our sponsors, Scribe Media. I worked with Scribe to publish Painted Baby, and I'm currently working with them again to publish my next book, Pour Into People. Click on the link in the show notes below to connect with them, and they'll actually give you a little something extra because you came to them through me. And how do you balance that? So Carl Sutter, former pastor, he's retired from Foundations. He came in and spoke to our men's mastermind group that we have. And he said that healing is done in community when you can be vulnerable with those other people. Yeah. But then, growth and strength is done in isolation. Mm-hmm. So and Jesus went out into isolation. So how do you do that? There's got to be that season. There's got to be that time when you do that. Yep. And it's just you and God and your story, and you're wrestling and you're battling and you're figuring that out. But then how do you come back from that and then plant yourself back into the world? Because you've done this, right? You leave, you go have these periods of immense growth. Joey, you and I talked about this, and you come back in 6 months, you've totally transformed your life. Then you step right back into the world, and nobody else has done anything, or very few have had that. So how do you balance that?
That's good. That's a good question.
How do you teach people how to balance that?
It's I want you to soul search, but I want you to soul search in the sense of, okay, who is it? If the image, this is a great question. Let's verbally process this. If the image of who you want to become doesn't involve adding value or serving people, and it's just you on a straight line to success, let's say, you can't integrate. That person is going to be really hard to integrate into community. The getaways that you and I encourage people to do, the getaways you and I have done, have been, God, I need to get this right so that I can give back to the world and the people in my life. And so it's the both and. It's the, yes, go out. Yes, do the hard things when no one else is watching, because that's actually when the hard things get done. But don't forget your why. Why is it you're doing it? And so you actually have to coach people a lot to help them figure out their why. Because if your why is just, I just want to be successful, I just want to make a ton of money. Well, you're going to make it, and then you're going to look up and you're going to say, what have I made this for? Yeah. And so how do we catch that narrative sooner? And how do you say, do some soul searching, but here's some filters you need to do the soul searching in. What kind of father do you want to be? What kind of husband do you want to be? What kind of friend do you want to be? What kind of community member do you want to be? What kind of leader do you want to be? That's the soul searching that's going to work and transform you, and it's going to transform your community.
Love that.
Yeah. That's a great question, though. Okay, so that's one thing that I've loved about being a business owner is, God uses people to change people.
Yeah.
And it just blows my mind every day. I'm like, God, that person just changed my life. That conversation just changed my life. That person just told me that I changed their life. Like, wow, that's life for me. And then the other thing is this, it's taking a really small dream and saying, how can I help people? And it's enjoying the process of discovering what that dream could become. And I think as an entrepreneur, you hold the tension of where you want to go and where you are. And so that's just been so, can I share it with you?
Do that.
Because I'm like honing it. Like
Yep.
this podcast coming on here, starting to do more speaking is helping me kind of figure out like, all right, God, we're getting some things down here, but where are we going? Because I always want to go somewhere with him that's bigger than where I am right now. So here's the big dream. And this is kind of a mission vision statement that I'm playing with. And it's this: to eliminate, maybe eradicate. I'm playing with the word. I want it to be like big, to eliminate the epidemic of social isolation and loneliness by equipping women worldwide with the social skills needed to build meaningful connections, foster strong communities, and create lasting friendships, ultimately establishing generational legacies of love, belonging, and connection. Because here's what I'm just kind of thinking, big picture. I'm like, okay, Lord, if you can use these online micro learning videos, coaching community, if you can use that with people here locally, people that I know that I'm connected to, and I've got a couple members that are in different states, and I can use that nationally, can I partner with some people? Because the World Health Organization has said, hey, isolation and loneliness is actually a global problem. They've got a couple commissions going on it. Japan has said they're having problems with it. The United Kingdom, South Africa. And then I think there was another big nation that's having problems with it. But if I can help people here and it works, can I collaborate with other individuals who are passionate about women connecting and gathering and learning social skills that uplift communities and create places of belonging? And can we do translations? Like, can I pull a Matt Schaub, and can I find somebody that will take my videos, right, put them into Spanish, add the cultural nuances that are important to understand that maybe I don't understand about the Spanish culture, and then can we make a framework for success for women in Spain?
Franchise that.
Can I do that somewhere else? Like God, and it's not even for the purpose of like, it's literally just if these skills will save people's lives by helping us figure out how to make friends again and create connections, like that's a win for everybody. Yeah. And I think it honors and glorifies God because he designed us for connection. And when we connect with each other, it's more of an opportunity for God to use someone to change someone else's life. So that's kind of like, those are two things that make me excited.
Did you go through the life plan process for that? Because that sounds very much like a life plan statement or framework.
Like a life plan with...
So the Patterson process.
Oh, Patterson. Oh, man, I tried to work for them a couple times. Their strat
But
ups just blows my mind.
So life plan is for your personal life. Strat up is life plan for your business.
Because
that sounds just like a
I have
life
always wanted to do, listen, there's a couple things where I'm like, Lord, if this ever happened, it's going to be because you provide a miraculous way for me to do it because of the cash to get those things done. Woo. But no, but I love that you think that I've done a life plan with that. I mean, I'm on the right track. I'm doing something right because I love the Patterson Strat Ops life plan. That whole process is so cool.
Yeah, you leave that and it's a statement, and like all the language is very intentional. I like eradicate as opposed to eliminate. What do you think, Joey?
To eradicate the epidemic of social isolation and loneliness.
Eradicate is way stronger of a word.
Eradicate is like get rid of it.
All right,
forever.
Get rid of that question mark there. We're just going to put an exclamation mark.
That hits me more. But the words are powerful. Those two words mean two different things.
Yeah. So for me, it's just kind of a battle cry. It's I never want to live a quiet life, and this is a message that I can preach until the day that I die, because I think it's going to be a message the world needs to hear until Jesus comes back, So that's what gets me excited, kind of fired up.
At a time when everybody thinks they're so connected, and they're the least connected they've ever been.
Isn't that
because
interesting?
they've got those stupid phones.
I had this.
You can sit by yourself on a Friday night and scroll on a screen.
Yeah.
And think you're connected, and you're just making yourself more miserable. You're seeing everybody else's life and dreams and visions and goals and marketing and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I notice that more, like people don't know how to engage and connect.
And what's hard for us as older people that we're not addicted to understand is that there's actually a biological chemical release of dopamine as we scroll. And so what's happening is the young people are scrolling, but they're scrolling because it makes them feel good. It makes them feel safe. It makes them feel comforted. Hold on, he wrote a book called How to Live a Non-Anxious Life. Dr. John Deloney. In his book, it was super fascinating. He actually talks about we are addicted to scrolling. It's releasing the same neurotoxins that addicts struggle with. And so getting out of that loop, you actually go through a little bit of withdrawal if you've ever tried to get off social media and you're stuck on it. So it convinces your brain that your life is actually full and good because you feel good when you're doing it.
Yeah.
But then you put it down and there's a wave. I remember when I was addicted to scrolling years ago, but there was a wave of depression and loneliness that would come over me when I put the phone down. And it was, my reality sucks. This feels way more better. So you just keep scrolling. But Dr. John Deloney talks about you can actually create with anxiety. This is interesting. You can create an anxiety loop where you actually become addicted to removing yourself from anxiety. So you get into a situation and you feel anxious, you remove yourself and your brain rewards you with a nice little hit of dopamine. I feel better. I feel safe. I've removed myself from that anxiety. Anxiety in itself is not a bad thing. I talk a lot about social anxiety. Yep. Anxiety itself is not a bad thing. We were wired to be able to respond to threats, which is what anxiety does. It releases adrenaline, basically fight or flight. So I need to be able to run if there's a fire, and I need to be able to fight if somebody's coming at me with, jujitsu with the knife or something. I need to know how to do that. So God gave us the ability to do that. Anxiety is a normal response to a fear or a threat. But what happens is that it becomes a complex almost. And so we're able to sit, this is fascinating. We're able to sit in a room with our eyes closed, lay down and imagine ourselves being eaten by a shark, running from a shark, swimming from a shark. And we can create such a perceived perception of fear in our own mind.
I could totally run from a shark.
It's just that. I have like a little cartoon picture in my head.
I would smoke a shark in a race. A foot race?
Let's do little bits. Run from a shark. Swim really fast. But you can release just by thinking about it and picturing about it. You can release adrenaline through your body. And so your body is actually convinced that you are in danger. And so it's fascinating. So he says we have to be so careful because if you're constantly removing yourself from moments of anxiousness or anxiety, you actually reward yourself. And then anytime you get into a spot of nervousness, of a little bit of fear, a little bit of uncertainty, and you constantly remove yourself, you're setting yourself up for failure because the only way in life that we grow, that we get better at something is we have to work through those nerves, right? The fears, the doubts, this could fail. I could embarrass myself, but it's not going to kill me. And the problem with anxiety is when we loop it, we tell our brain it actually could kill us. So our brain is putting our body physically into a fight or flight response where you get panic attacks. And
then you have somebody do that a couple times and then say, oh, I'm anxious. And then it gets labeled as anxiety and way too quick. Like they said, maybe they said this to you. I wonder. They said I had ADD. They were going to drug me.
Yeah.
And we didn't.
Yeah.
Like that's the greatest gift ever.
Yeah. There's a bio.
And a lot of entrepreneurs that I've met had been labeled that.
Yeah. There's a biohacker. His name is Gary Brecka. He's a human biologist biohacker, and he talks about anxiety. And the clients that I work with, I'm not working with like you actually have, like you were born with the ADD or you've been anxious your whole life. It's, hey, there was an onset. There was something that changed about your life. Maybe it was COVID, maybe it was something else, but fear and doubt and insecurity have become a louder narrative for you than they were in your childhood. And so that's a difference. So he says, and what he says is, if you notice that you go on a medication and it wrecks you, you're tired, you're slow, you don't feel like you have the same personality. He's like, chances are you don't actually need the drug. What you need to do is what Dr. Deloney says, he says, the only way to work through that anxiety, to overcome it, is you have to learn to sit in it in very small pieces.
Just lean into it.
And you have to lean into it. You and I are like, we're just going to jump into it head on. But we're a personality type. Other people, I'm like, no, you just find that the edge of where you start to feel that fear, and just stand there. And you literally have to talk your brain through, this is not going to kill me. This is not going to kill me. This is not going to kill me, which is a part of I don't know how much time we have. But how are we doing on time?
We're wrapping it up soon.
Okay, we're wrapping it up soon. But a part of my story is there's this 5 minutes in my life that changed everything. And it was 5 minutes that required me to be ridiculously brave, almost stupidly brave from a high school perspective. And I basically walked into a room and invited myself to hang out with a group of people. And that moment had the potential for me to result in social trigger word suicide. Like, they could have rejected me. They could have been like, who do you think you are inviting yourself to hang out? There's so many ways it could have gone. And I've still had experiences where they do go haywire. But that moment, that time I did it, they invited me in. And they're like, absolutely, we'd love to have you come watch a movie and go to Wendy's with us. But it took me walking through that door, working through, my body wants to run. Nothing about this feels right. This is going to fail miserably. I am done for. And standing in that long enough to ask the question, hey, can I hang out with you guys? And it changed everything. But we're giving people too many excuses to come out of things that are hard or make them feel anxious. And those are actually the moments where life-changing growth happen in really big ways.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And it makes people soft. Mm-hmm. You gotta lean into it, step into it.
I know. And it's hard because as parents, as coaches.
It's hard to do. It's not fun. It's not pleasant.
It's not fun to watch people fail and fall. But when you do it enough times, you're like, I know I'm going to be better after this. I know I'm going to grow.
And you don't die.
And turns out you don't die.
Like, you don't die.
Like 99.99% of the time, you don't die. We can't say 100% because people will take risks that maybe they shouldn't take. And it does result, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Well, but that space of like, I think this is going to kill me, hurt me, harm me. So I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to run away. I'm going to pull back versus step to the edge of it, even dip your toe in, or us just jump in and be in it. And it sucks. It's tossing you around. You're getting ass kickings. And then you're like, wait, but like I came out, dusted myself off. And now I'm on the other side of this looking back like, who is this guy? Who is this gal that didn't even want to go there? And society and so many things are like, no, don't go there. You don't want to. Just jump in.
It's not safe.
Just jump in.
Nowhere's safe.
Nothing. If people really knew how unsafe everything was, like we're working security, right? Learning about all that.
If you have social anxiety, don't overthink that one.
But just go. Just jump. Jump into it.
Yeah.
And but did you die? Who quoted that, Joey?
That's The Hangover.
That's The Hangover. Is that the dude that jumps out of the trunk?
No. Well, it's the second one.
But did you die?
And he was driving the car, and it was a big car chase scene. But yeah,
it really is and I think it's a great question to ask. Niki, is this going to kill you? Is it going to scare you? Will you do it imperfectly? Will you maybe fail? Will you maybe not get the results that you want? All of the above are options. But is it going to kill you? No. Here we go. Here we go.
Well, we're about to go share this. You're about to go share this with Coffee Bar. I hear people starting to come in.
I can't hear anything except my own voice in yours through these headphones.
It's all good. I can hear.
You have ninja hearing.
I have ninja hearing.
It comes with the jiu-jitsu.
It does.
Yeah.
It totally does.
The eighth sense that I don't have.
Let's wrap up. We wrap up the show same way every time. You have the statement that you're going to leave with the world when you leave it. What is it?
The statement is, do I show it to this camera?
Show it and then read it. Absolutely.
This camera? Okay.
All of them.
The statement is, she never lived a quiet life. And it comes from Esther 4:14, where basically Esther's uncle is telling her, you can be quiet. You don't have to say anything. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences that you can't control because you chose to stay silent. But if you say something, maybe you were born for such a time as this. And so it's just, for me, it's a battle cry,
Yeah.
It's cool. She never lived a quiet life.
Niki McIntosh, that's a wrap.
Hey, Matt, this was
Thanks
so
for coming.
fun. Thanks for having me, friend.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, drop a comment below. Make sure to watch the next episode, and don't forget to subscribe. If you're a business owner looking to improve your life, leadership, faith, family, and business, I've got a couple of free things that I'd love to share with you. So go to mattschaub.com and download my free tools. I guarantee these couple of things will get you started off in the right direction.